Hey everybody, welcome to Eagles Game Plan presented by Toyota. I am John Clark along with Mike Quick and Ike Reese. The Birds are coming off the bye, still undefeated of course, 6-0. So Mike Quick, what are the keys to being sharp coming out of that bye week?
I think they have to still rely on what they've done to get them to this point. They're 6-0 at this point, and every day they talk about getting a little bit better. Well, they can't get away from that. They have to play 2 games in a matter of 5. They play on Sunday, then they come back and play on Thursday night. It's really important that they get their rest, make sure that they're doing that when they're away from the facility.
Yeah, and listen, coming off the bye week can be sometimes difficult to get jump-started again, especially when you're a team like the Eagles that was playing so well for 6 weeks. But it's always refreshing for the body coming off the bye week. I remember playing under Coach Reed. Everybody knew his record coming off the bye week. He was undefeated for a lot of those years. I think it was the way that he handled us in practice, right? He made sure that he took care of us physically, and by the time we came back, we were always revving to go. Now, it also may have had something to do with us losing usually before the bye week, that we didn't want to lose 2 in a row. So, but yes, we were always pretty good coming off that bye week.
All right, we've got some good post-bye week flow going here, so let's get some enemy intel with Greg Cosell on the Steelers rookie quarterback, Kenny Pickett. He's thrown 7 interceptions in the 4 games he's been out there. Here it is, enemy intel presented by Golden Nugget Jewelers.
The only quarterback taken in the first round in this year's draft was Kenny Pickett. And those of you who follow what I say know that I really like Pickett coming out of the University of Pittsburgh. Throws a nice ball, he's tough, there's detail and nuance to his game. You can see the poise and composure just when you watch him play. He got his first opportunity to play in the second half against the Jets a few weeks ago. And this is the kind of play that really resonates, not only when you're watching tape like I do, but with his teammates. Watch him drop back. You see a defensive lineman come clean through the A-gap right in his face. Pickett doesn't flinch at all. In fact, he steps into this throw and hits his tight end, Pat Freiermuth. That was a big-time NFL throw in his first game, and he didn't even start that game. Now, I want to go to another play. We go back to last week when they played the Miami Dolphins on Sunday Night Football. And this throw came against what we call 2-man coverage, man-to-man underneath with 2 deep safeties. This one he had to stick in a very tight window to Pat Freiermuth again, and the defender could undercut the route because it was 2-man coverage. There was help over the top. Another big-time NFL throw by Pickett. Again, a firm touch throw. Doesn't have to throw an absolute strike, but needs some velocity and firmness to this throw. Now, not only is Pickett a rookie that's making an impact with the Steelers, but there's another rookie, and that's George Pickens, the wide receiver from Georgia. Pickens, to me, was the best receiving prospect in this draft class. That's what his tape from the University of Georgia told me as I projected him to the league. And I think we're seeing glimpses of that. And I think the connection between Pickett and Pickens will only get better as we move forward. And the one thing about Pickens is he can make tough, contested sideline catches. And here's a great example. This is against the Bills. Now, I know they got blown out by Buffalo, but Pickett actually played well. And this is an outstanding back shoulder throw, giving George Pickens the opportunity to go up and make the catch. So there's 2 rookies here. There's Kenny Pickett, the quarterback, and there's George Pickens, the wide receiver. They're challenges for the Eagles defense. Pickett with his poise, his composure, his awareness. And Pickens, he's just a physical specimen. 6'3", he can run, he can go get the football, he can make tough contested catches, and he can run after catch. Both players will be challenges for the Eagles defense.
All right, Kenny Pickett has shown some good flashes as a rookie, but all those interceptions, and he has thrown more interceptions against zone coverage this year than any quarterback. So, Ike, is that something that could play into the Eagles' hands?
Definitely. I mean, the Eagles can take advantage of this, and I'm not surprised that Kenny Pickett is struggling a little bit with zone coverage here in the NFL. You can get tricked a lot in this league when you're trying to throw against zone coverage. Man-to-man, a lot easier to pass against. Zone a little more difficult. Take a look here. Minnesota Vikings game. Watch how the Eagles trick Kirk Cousins up, a veteran quarterback in this circumstance. All right, you're going to watch Vontae Maddox here with TJ Edwards, and then I got Darius Slay big play Slay, playing right behind them. Now the communication before the snap is key here. They understand these route concepts that they're going to get from these 3 wide receivers. You watch at the snap of the ball, no one's in a panic. They almost get to their area where they want to drop. And then I like what Avonte Maddox and TJ Edwards does here. Avonte is going to pass this receiver back to TJ, and then he sinks. And he sinks because he knows there's a 7 route coming behind him. Great job from Avonte Maddox here. Even more importantly, the communication between those guys prior to the snap allowed them to play this defense to a perfect tee, tricking Kirk Cousins here. One of his 3 interceptions that night. Avonte Maddox, great job here. Even better job, Jonathan Gannon, playing this defense down here.
Well, if you can trick Kirk Cousins, you can certainly trick a young quarterback like they're going to see on Sunday. Young quarterbacks, when they have problems throwing the ball into zone coverage, you understand that you can show them something pre-snap and then move into something else after the ball is snapped and really trick them up. I think it's going to be very difficult for a young quarterback to really do well against a Jonathan Gannon defense because there's so much movement in the back end of that defense. And when you're a young quarterback, all you need is to hesitate for a little bit to throw you off.
Eagles Game Plan is brought to you by your local Tri-State Toyota dealers, proud automotive partner of the Philadelphia Eagles. NovaCare Rehabilitation, the power of physical therapy. Pepsi, Eagles watching, better with Pepsi. PA Lottery, there's a lot of love for the PA Lottery, and when you see how fun it is, you'll understand why.
Hey, have a game now, kid. It's the first Dallas matchup. Let's go. Story of Jalen Hurts being written by you. All right, let's go. Energy, energy. Let's go. How bad do we want it now? You know what's coming. Football guys take care of the teams to finish. Let's go.
I love to hear Jason Kelce mic'd up, man of the people, and the Eagles running game still in top form when they needed that big drive in the fourth quarter, pounding the ball. They did it the last 2 games. Give us an idea of what makes it so good.
We talk so much about the variety of this Eagles run game, but balance. That's the one where we don't talk enough about the balance of this running attack. Look at this pistol formation, and there are no indicators here. You've got a tight end on both sides, so there's no strong side, weak side indicator. It's just balanced across the board, and it's a real easy run to the left side, and you watch the front side, everybody's getting their blocks. There's no leaks on the back side in this. There's one guy to beat. Miles Sanders, all he needs to do is beat the safety. Nice little spin move on the safety there, but they only pick up 8 yards on the run, but you see the balance. The defensive side, they have no idea where the football is going to go, and sometimes you're winning just being balanced because you have no indicators of where to go, where the football may go.
Yeah, and I like the way Miles is running the football this year. Running hard, running behind his pads, having the ability to make guys miss. You know, every once in a while, you're going to have to make that one guy miss, right? You can't account for everybody on the defense. Sometimes the running back is going to have to make a guy miss in the hole. That's a prime example of it right there. And I think this year, I've seen more of that from Miles Sanders, having a great year, probably his best as an Eagle running back.
And the Pittsburgh kid has had some big runs against his Steelers.
Yeah.
Mike Tomlin called him the 4-1 tour. So what will Miles Sanders see against that Pittsburgh Steelers defense? Here's enemy intel with Greg Cosell, presented by Golden Nugget Jewelers.
One of the things you know when you play the Pittsburgh Steelers is that they will play good defense. And that's been noticeable the last couple of weeks. But one difference, and we haven't seen a whole lot of this in recent years, is they're playing a lot of cover 2 this year. In fact, the 3rd highest percentage of cover 2 in the NFL. But it's not just your straight, stagnant, static cover 2. It's how they get to it. There's a lot of disguise. There's a lot of late movement right at the snap of the ball, late rotation with safeties. And they're confusing quarterbacks. They're making quarterbacks have to hesitate and be uncertain on their drop and set in the pocket. That happened a few weeks ago to Tom Brady. Tom Brady of all people. And they can do this with one of the best safeties in the game, Minkah Fitzpatrick. Fitzpatrick is so good at reading routes, understanding route concepts, attacking the ball, but he starts by reading the quarterback. And there's maybe no better safety in the NFL doing that playing today. And let's just go back to week 1. This was actually the first throw against the Steelers this season, and it's Joe Burrow. And here's a great example of Fitzpatrick just playing cover 2, but notice he's wide. He read the route. He knew where the ball was going to go, and he jumped in front of the receiver, made the interception, and took it to the house. That's Minkah Fitzpatrick. He can do that on any given play. So he's the player that Jalen Hurts must be aware of, particularly when he wants to throw the ball in the middle of the field.
All right, yeah, you have to be aware of Minkah Fitzpatrick. By the way, I mean, the Eagles plus 12 in the turnover margin. They're best through 6 games in decades, so that's pretty amazing. And Jalen Hurts doesn't turn the ball over. What does he have to watch out for in this game, then?
Well, he certainly has to watch out for this defense. The guys on the back end of this defense, not a lot of household names. Minkah Fitzpatrick, everyone knows him, and he has proven to be one of the best safeties in all of football. But if you look around the back end, there are not a lot of other names that are household names. But they play really well. They play a lot of zone. They play a lot of 2-deep zone. They play a lot of 3-deep zone, but they're around the football a lot. Jalen, he has been really good at protecting the football. So he doesn't throw the ball in harm's way a lot. He'll pull it down and run it. He's very smart and makes really good decisions with the football, and that should prove well in this football game.
And Jalen seems to be under control at all times. Even when he's under pressure, he's not out there, to me, playing hero football. Doesn't take unnecessary risk. Every once in a while, he'll show faith in that arm like he did in Arizona. I still think about the pass he hit Devontae Smith when he rolled to the left and threw it back to the right. But you don't see a lot of those plays. And for a young quarterback who has that type of ability and still knows how to corral it and not necessarily put the team in a bad position, Jalen deserves a lot of credit for the way that he's playing the quarterback position this year. A lot of guys out there making mistakes with the football, trying to do too much. The reason the Eagles, a big reason why they're 6-0, is the quarterback understands what he's supposed to do out there and doesn't try to do things that he can't do.
He understands the value of holding on to the football,
Yes.
and that is so important.
Real simple tonight, man. Take nothing but you being yourself. Why don't your brother go take these boys, man? Eagles on 3, 1, 2, 3.
Rushing back, he pumps, he fires, it is deflected and intercepted. C.J. Gardner-Johnson pushing, pulls, he's in for a touchdown. Miles Sanders.
He throws it to Brown with a step in the secondary. He will score. Throws it, touchdown, Devontae Smith.
Lets it fly, it's intercepted by Slade.
And it's underthrown, and it's scooped and intercepted. C.J. Gardner-Johnson.
Hey, remember that last Eagles win? What a win over the Cowboys. And the Eagles defensive backs were great in that game. They had a lot of pass breakups. One of the guy who had a lot of pass breakups, 4 of them in fact, James Bradbury, is talking about that secondary. Here's a little tape study. He's with Fran Duffy here, presented by Chickies and Pete's.
Well, please be joined this week by Eagles cornerback James Bradbury. And James, excited to kind of dig into some film here and watch some of the plays that you've made so far here this season.
Let's do it. I'm excited too.
Lawrence takes the snap, he's back, he is firing, and it is intercepted! Eagles pick it off. Coming up with the interception, James Bradbury.
Yeah, so we were in cover 0, which I had man-to-man on number 1 here. But also in cover 0, I know the ball's gonna come out kind of hot, so I can also keep my eyes back and look at the quarterback and also the receivers that's coming in front of me. I let the post route go. I saw the quarterback throw the ball over here to this wheel route, and I just fell off and made a play.
At what point is just ball skills just like a natural trait, or you feel like that's something that has improved for you throughout the course of your career?
I think I've always had ball skills.
Yep.
It's just about being confident to go attack the ball when it's in the air. You know, in the past, I've dropped some interceptions probably because I wasn't really confident in attacking the ball. But when I saw the ball, my eyes got big, and I just knew I had to catch it. You know, it was an open one for me. It wasn't a hard one to me because the receiver didn't interfere with it. So he actually made it easier for me to bring it in.
At what point did you switch from being a receiver to DB and you know, like, all right, my future's on defense?
I played receiver a little bit in high school.
Yep.
I actually had an offer coming out of high school to be a receiver, but I mainly played defense. And I always knew my size was more of an anomaly for corners than it was for receivers.
I remember you coming out of Samford, going to the Senior Bowl, and some of the strides you made that week. Do you reflect on just the areas that you've improved in your game just since coming from a lower level of competition?
Yeah, definitely. I think over the past 6-7 years, I've learned a lot about football and route concepts and just the NFL. So I think that's definitely helped me out throughout my NFL career.
Wentz is back. Wentz looks up. He hits. He loses it. He loses it. They'll recover the fumble, but that is another fumble by Carson Wentz, who was hit by Reddick for his 6th sack of the game.
I think we was a man-to-man on this call, so I had number 1 if he came vertical. I kind of knew the route concept a little bit, and also, they want to attack the sticks, so I was pretty much just absorbed my guy, kind of fell underneath him.
When you're in this kind of coverage, at what point do you realize I got to stay on top of this route versus gauging when you can kind of get underneath it?
You got to have a sense of where the sticks are. So as you can see, if you rewind a little bit, like I'm always aware where that stick marker is right here. And that's where I kind of line up to start off.
And it
so
helps
of course I give him a little grind as he getting up on me, but I know he wanted to go past the stick, so I just had to absorb him. And if he did throw a non-route, I would just have to run and make a play. But fortunately, he ran the dig route and came right to me.
Watching you over the course of your career, one thing I always come back to is like route instincts. When you hear instincts for a corner, like what does that mean to you when you hear instincts?
First of all, I say they football IQ. IQ is pretty hard because most of the time you're making plays not necessarily reacting, but you're making plays because you kind of anticipate a play is going to happen. And they usually have a knack for the ball.
Obviously understanding like, hey, down and distance situation, what teams like to do, but then also just reading the receiver and body language in the route. How often do you kind of jump between those two facets of being able to read a route?
Yeah, both. I mean, first of all, when I get on the field, I get the down and distance. Then I look at the formation once the offense lines up. And then I kind of line where the players are. 17 is a key player in the offense. 82 is a key player in the offense, so I kind of see where they line up, and then I go from there.
Hey, welcome back to Eagles Game Plan presented by Toyota. Eagles and Steelers don't play each other a whole lot. They used to be the Steagles, actually played together one time, but the Birds have won 9 straight games at home against the Steelers. They lost in 1965. What was going on that day, Mike?
65, I was playing in the sandpit.
All right, just making sure. How about some memorable moments, though, from the series?
So for me, I go back to 2008, and I think it was the biggest sack party, or one of the biggest sack parties that Lincoln Financial has ever seen. The Eagles got 3 turnovers that day, but I remember Weapon X, Brian Dawkins, really showing that he was Weapon X, flying through the air and getting a sack on
Superman.
Yes, getting a sack on Ben Roethlisberger. That game against the Steelers, I think, one of the most memorable games this town has ever seen with those 2 teams.
One of the most not memorable games.
Yeah, I was going to say, we're going from positivity to
Eagles
negativity over here.
7-0 undefeated going into Pittsburgh.
Yes, I think back, I think that's one of the more memorable Pittsburgh Steelers Eagles games that sticks in my mind, that 2014, both teams being undefeated. I think Pittsburgh had just beaten New England, who was undefeated the week before, so we were up next. The thing that I remember about that game is that prior to the game, we found out that Deuce Staley was not going to play that day. He had a hamstring issue, but he had been their leading rusher that entire year. So we were pumped up to play our former teammate. And then when we found out he wasn't going to play, I think that deflated us a little bit. And I don't think we recovered. We came out and played very flat that day and got our butts kicked. So, yeah, that was not a very good memory, but it sticks in my head when I think about the Pittsburgh.
Way to end this show on that note, right? But hey, the Eagles can go to 7-0 and match your team. Only second 7-0 in Eagles history. They can do that against the Steelers. So enjoy. Thanks for watching Eagles Game Plan presented by Toyota. Eagles Game Plan is brought to you by your local tri-state Toyota dealers, proud automotive partner of the Philadelphia Eagles. NovaCare Rehabilitation, the power of physical therapy. Pepsi, Eagles watching, better with Pepsi. PA Lottery, there's a lot of love for the PA Lottery, and when you see how fun it is, you'll understand why.